My name is Larissa. We're going to practice together for about 30 minutes. Thanks for being here on a Friday morning, practicing together, being part of this community. As we get situated, as we get ready to practice, I'm just going to name a little bit about the Tonglen practice. I talked a bit about it yesterday. We've been practicing with it. But this Tonglen practice, it's giving and receiving is what that word means in Tibetan. But it's giving and receiving specifically to be looking at the difficult points of life, the pain points. And sometimes that can feel counterintuitive. It's like, why would I want to sit down and just sit with my pain? But it's a really beautiful and beneficial practice simply because pain and suffering and challenge is part of being human. I think sometimes we've been taught or we've thought that if we're happy, then we're good. And if we're not feeling happy, then something's wrong and we need to fix it. But in reality, very often we learn so much from the difficult things. And it doesn't mean we want to try to cling to the difficulty and stick in it, just like we don't need to cling to the joy. There's these roles and changes that happen throughout the day, throughout moments. And we can start to watch it in meditation. You might be feeling like, okay, I feel pretty good this morning. You're just chilling in your meditation. And then all of a sudden, you're something that felt really warm and cozy a moment ago feels uncomfortable. And now that warm sweater is itching you and you want to have like a reaction to it, like, oh, this is irritating. Right? We all have those moments where there's a quick shift from pleasant to unpleasant. And very often it's a long swath of neutrality between unpleasant and pleasant and back again. And so part of our process in meditation is just to watch all of that occurring. We get a little bored, we get a little sleepy, we have a deep moment of resourcing and relaxation and rest. And there's movement in it. There's titration and change that's occurring. So as we invite in this practice of Tonglen, it's really important to find some groundedness first. It's making sure that you're feeling resourced, stable, able to take a deep breath. And on the days when you're feeling a lot of difficulty, a lot of pain, that's when you need your resourcing the most. Just really focusing on the receiving of the inhale. Just noticing all of the gift of life that I get to take in on the inhale. And that's a big part of the practice is just beginning with breath. So that's where we'll start, as we often do. Looking to close your eyes, set your gaze downward, softening your external vision. And just noticing, how's my breath moving today? You might notice freedom of movement. You might notice a little restriction somewhere, whether it's from clothing, or even sometimes just noticing a little bit of restriction in the breath, freeze it up a little. That happens a lot in our movement practice. When we move, we start to notice where tension is in the body and we wiggle it out, we soften it. Same thing here, just in a bit more stillness, we start to notice the tension points in our mind, which certainly relate to our physical form. And very often, a particular thought that feels a little sticky, a little grippy, it will also offer sensation in our body. And that's what we're looking for as we practice. So, where do I feel the sensation in my body? So often we're oriented towards following the story, trying to understand it logically, linearly, with our knowledge body. Here, we're just getting into our physical body, our emotional body, our energetic body. And as we come into stillness, eventually we start to notice our wisdom body, our bliss body, our joy body that's always right here with us. And we're never trying to push away any difficulty. We're just inviting our mind to settle. Because that joy body, that wisdom body exists deep within us. As we settle, we slow down and we go inward. Eventually, we land on that soft, stable, strong ground of our bliss body, our wisdom body. So seeing if you can look for and find that as you exhale, allowing your body to soften. Maybe even notice that expansive space at the very bottom of the exhale before you inhale again. Almost invariably, our mind moves occasionally. Sometimes it's quick. We notice a breath and then immediately our mind is elsewhere. Sometimes it's a slow wander. No matter what, just the noticing of it is this invitation to then invite your mind back. Just inviting your attention to be in the same place as your physical body. And then just like curiosity, what do I notice here? Maybe even noticing patterns of thought, different thoughts bringing different sensations to our body. Just tending to yourself in the present. Is there some tension in my chest, my jaw, my shoulder, and I can consciously invite in some softening as I exhale? I'm watching that expansive, spacious creation of the inhale, space between ribs, space for your lungs to expand and become full of fresh oxygen. And then as you exhale, your body does the work to take that oxygen, bring it down to the level of your blood, and your blood starts to bring this fresh oxygen all the way down into your toes. All of this occurring in a nanosecond. And we just get to sit here and breathe. Just opening up, receiving this gift of the inhale. Giving yourself permission to rest, to soften as you exhale. I'll share here in a moment of reading and teaching helps us understand this practice of Tonglen. And then we'll settle again into just the practice itself, and we'll guide us through a couple of invitations to work with. It's that giving and receiving, pulling in this receiving on the inhale, offering back, giving back on the exhale. I shared a little bit of this reading earlier this week. This is by Sophie Strand. It's a really delightful, amazing author. And I resonate so deeply with her words because I've experienced my own pain points in life. And I want to invite you, before I offer this reading, just consider for a moment some experience, something you went through in life that was really difficult and you learned from it. And maybe you're still going through it and the learning hasn't quite landed. So maybe you have to go back like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, some experience that was challenging. And then looking back at it now with kinder eyes, very often we can look into the past. And just noticing, what did I learn from that experience? Just considering that for a moment, some pain point in the past. It brought you some deep learning, perhaps some resiliency, perhaps some resourcing. Just consider that for a moment. And you might notice your mind just was moving, searching for something. If you didn't find a moment in time, that's okay. But these reflections can be very helpful for us to remember, especially when we're in stress and we're in something that feels rather difficult, to just remember we have made it through our worst days 100% of the time, because here we sit. And you might be in a season of challenge and it's a rather difficult day. You might be feeling really resourced, stable, and comfortable. But whatever it is that you're experiencing, just giving yourself permission to feel, giving yourself permission to let it go at times. Just remembering that we get to work with this balance of holding pain. You don't have to hold it forever. If you're not feeling stable and resourced, just go right back to your breath. Just noticing expansiveness of your inhale, the softening of your exhale. Just watching your body's wisdom opening and closing, expanding and contracting. I'll share this reading from Sophie Strand. This is from one of her newsletters. She's an author, but she also talks about her experience with suffering and pain. It's part of her expression in the world. She's somebody that's dealing with a chronic illness. She says, hunger is the best salt, goes the proverb attributed to Miguel de Cervantes. I will second that as someone who lives with a Tantalus level hunger for food that usually makes me feel violently ill. Even the plainest, blandest dish tastes like a 5-star meal when it is the only thing you've been able to tolerate for days. But there is an evolution of this proverb. I've been feeling radiant through my body. The moment directly after a serious encounter with a physical pain is the best salt for food, for life, for gratitude, for everything. The fever breaks, the joint slips back into place, your airways dilate, your heart jump starts. And the next breath tastes like paper whites waking up under the ice, like maple syrup, like sunlight strained through a rain cloud into the honey air. It reminds me of paradoxically summiting a mountain by accidentally digging downward and downward and downward until you break soil on some alpine way by tunneling through the center of the barrier. I am very sick right now. Things that used to be easy are suddenly hard, and this is humbling. I have tests scheduled for the next 2 months that may reveal scarier plot twists. But right now, as I have tunneled through the very center of my personal earth, I am summiting into a different view of the long and short stories interweaving to create my days. I am watching the dawn stain the snow strawberry through my kitchen window. I am filled with a visceral gratitude, one that flutters with breathless disbelief in my chest. For I am grateful for the moments of my physical breakdown and the sober conferences with my own mortality, because they have polished to brightness how very good my life is. I have been healthier before and less happy. I would prefer this dumbstruck awe over any of those anguished, slightly more well-bodied years. Give me this wonder at the beauty of every mundane second of every extraordinary day, even as it comes into my faulty organism. As a perspective into our practice with working with Tonglen, can we be grateful for those moments of physical breakdown? Can we allow them to give us wonder at the beauty of every mundane second of every extraordinary day? We might recall being in a season of challenge and feeling like it's never going to end. Sometimes it feels like we're running this circle in life. Read a meme and heard a joke about adulthood is essentially saying, next week it should slow down a little. And then we say that forever until we die. That the goal, the hope here is to not just run forward until we die, but to pause, to hold space for the difficult, to invite in the learnings and the heartbreaking, which is essentially a heart opening that allows us to experience life to its fullest. It's when you allow your heart to be broken, it breaks open. And this opening gives us a new spaciousness. And that doesn't mean when you're in the moment of pain, you have to force your heart open and tell yourself forcefully that this is good. But to give yourself permission to say, this is hard. I'm a whole, flawed human, and I am experiencing this difficulty to its foundation in my toes. And sometimes when we're in that, it's hard to even take a deep breath. But in this moment here, can you give yourself the freedom and the permission to create space for whatever comes? And watch my body as I breathe in, create this spaciousness. And I watch my body's wisdom soften, give rest as I exhale. And just watching that for a moment here. Maybe even saying in your mind, I'm breathing in, creating spaciousness. I'm breathing out, settling into softness. I'm breathing in spaciousness. I'm breathing out, landing on rest. Spacious, soft, expansive, and rest. Invitation as you watch your breath expand and contract. Create a deep spaciousness and then offering back a softening. Just to start to bring in a specific human in your life that's dealing with some pain point. So maybe a loved one that's been physically ill. Maybe a loved one that's going through some difficult time. It might just be somebody in your life that you love and they're not having a particularly difficult time, but they're just the person that comes to mind. And just imagine as if you're sitting with them for a moment. Maybe last time you saw them, that image comes to mind. A photograph of them pops into your mind. And as you're breathing in, just imagining as if you can draw in all of their pain and difficulty into your inhale, knowing that you have space to hold it. Perhaps imagining as you're breathing in, there's this bubble around you that expands and expands and expands to hold their difficulty. And then as you breathe out, you're both softening back down into the earth, giving back your tenderness, your support. And that's that process of giving and receiving pain in Tonglen. Instead of trying to give your pain up and receive goodness, which is its own benefit, we're reversing the practice. I'm breathing in the difficulty purposefully, wanting to hold it with an open palm and an open heart. And as I'm breathing out, I'm offering back those open palms down to the earth, touching the earth with my softness, my goodwill, my open heart. Just working with that with your breath. If the visual is helpful, just imagining as if you're breathing in all of these dark and difficult bits into your expansive bubble. And as you breathe out, you're just offering all of your softness and tenderness back to the earth, back to your human. And just imagining this give and take of energy. So I am grounded and resourced. And as I breathe in, I hold and create space for all of you. And as I breathe out, I offer you back my support, my gentleness, my tenderness. As I breathe in, I create space for all of you, the whole of you. As I breathe out, I offer back to the earth and to you my support, my tenderness. And just a tiny shift in that practice. Starting to let go of that image of your loved one. Just bringing your energy back to yourself and working with that same concept. So I am breathing in and I am creating space for the whole of me, like whole humanity. The parts of me that are flawed, the parts of me that I try to hide because I find them difficult to love. And if I find them difficult to love, how can anyone else love that part? And that might not even be conscious in our mind, but just saying to yourself, I'm breathing in and I'm creating space for the whole of me. Gives you permission to experience anything that comes up. And then when you exhale, you soften a bit. Just remembering you don't have to hold this forever. You're just giving yourself permission to be human. As I breathe in, I create space for the whole of me. As I breathe out, I'm offering back to myself my tenderness, my graciousness. As I breathe in, I'm creating space for the whole of me, every single version of me that's ever existed. As I breathe out, I give myself permission to rest a moment. So I'm breathing in, receiving the whole of me, and breathing out, offering back my rest and gentleness. Breathing in, creating space for the whole of me. Breathing out, giving myself permission to soften and settle. In these last moments together, but you just to take a breath together. Forgetting just breathing and softening. Do that again as a collective, just breathing in together and breathing out. And imagining as we breathe in together, we're creating a vast expanse to hold whatever is here. And as we breathe out, we are collectively offering back our goodness, our support. Just imagining the breath of this entire community, the folks on this call, but also the thousands of people that have contacted this Sangha, and the tens of thousands of more people that we contact in our day-to-day. And just imagining this ripple of breath reaching out to touch every being on the earth with our spaciousness and our softness. I'll invite you to bring your hands into any of your closing habits or practices. We'll end as we often do with loving kindness phrases, just repeating them back to yourself as they make sense. May we remember to be grateful for each moment today. May we be gentle with ourselves, and gratefulness is hard. May we be tender with ourselves when our hearts are breaking open. May we give ourselves permission to rest and connect. May we wonder at the beauty of every mundane second of today. And when action is needed, may we choose to step with ease and peace. And may the merits of our practice ripple out to benefit all beings. Take your time. Whenever you feel complete, you can open your eyes, find a little movement in your body. As always, just going slow if you can. Taking a moment to thank yourself before you head into the day.